Coming to you from the city where 50,740 participants started the New York City Marathon yesterday, it's Ventriloquism Weekly. Heidi-ho, heidi-ho, heidi-ho. It is Monday, November 4th. November 4th. How do we do this? I don't understand. Weeks go by in this place like a day. I blink and it's Monday again. But let me tell you, it is my favorite thing to do to be able to sit down at this microphone and cozy up with an interview and put this thing together for you guys. And boy, we have a great interview and a great conversation with David Crone, owner of I'mNoDummy.com. Now, I'm going to tell you, this isn't one of our typical conversations. We explore another facet of this industry. The idea of going from being a member of the working force, and in David's case, a powerful executive, to owning your own business and just doing the entertainment thing. And he talks about that transition and everything that's involved in going from being a member of the workforce to being a small business owner, the struggles, the triumphs. He just opens up about everything. So I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. Here's our wonderful interview with David Crone. David Crone, thank you so much for being with us. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. It's my pleasure to be with you, Matt.
This is fantastic. Well, I love your work, and it's just great to have you here. And I want to begin at the beginning, like I do with all of my guests. How did you get started in ventriloquism?
Wow. I have to really think back, because it was a long time ago. When I was in grade school, I got interested in magic. And it got started from a cereal box. I got a trick out of a Wheat Chex box back when cereal boxes used to have toys in them. And I collected box tops and sent away for a magic kit and kind of went from there. And then, I don't know, one year my mom says, you know, a lot of other magicians also do ventriloquism. Is that something you'd be interested in learning? And I said, I have no idea what that is, but sure, sounds good. So, like a lot of other people of my generation, I ended up with a Jimmy Nelson, the record, learned instant ventriloquism, and a Danny O'Day doll, which I'll actually call a doll rather than a dummy because it was really more of a doll than anything else.
Yes.
And I just sat in my bedroom in front of my mirror and practiced like all good ventriloquists do.
It's great. What was, we get requests for, we get questions sent in, and one of the ones that people are curious about is what was the spark? Was it a first show? What drew you to just that, especially getting away maybe from the magic? What was the spark for you?
Wow. For ventriloquism specifically?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, the spark for magic, I kind of have to start there because as a kid, that's really what did it for me. I was a total dweeb, like a lot of us.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I was not really very good at sports, and I thought magic would make me cool. And, a lot of us have lived through that fantasy. So, and I did ventriloquism sort of as a sideline to magic. It was just an add-on to the act. I was primarily a magician. So that was the hook for me, really, was it was just another piece. And then, so you have to fast forward many years then, and I got back into it in 2000. In the year, so actually in the mid-90s, I put everything away. I have 3 girls, 3 daughters, and when they came along, I realized that I could not keep up with the act and keep it fresh and make it good and be a dad and work all at the same time. And I did not want to be the hack magician like the guy that's on Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
Right?
That time of year.
I did not want to be that guy, and I said I would rather not perform at all than to be that bad. And so I packed it all away and stashed it in a corner of the basement, and there it stayed for, 6-7 years until I got energized, I guess, if you will.
Right.
And what brought it out was at work we did these big campaigns for the United Way every fall. And this one year, a bunch of guys at work decided they were going to do a talent show and invited people to bring in whatever random things they did. And so I pulled a puppet out and I practiced up a routine, and that's what I did, and I just loved it. It was that thrill of being back on the stage and entertaining people was just a big thrill. So that's really what got it started back in 2000 again. I did it again in 2001. Then started practicing again and getting things back together. And then I went to a convention in 2004. I went to the Ventriloquist Convention again, which I had gone once in 1990, and that was right before I put everything away. So I went in 2004 and just got really inspired and thrilled by the whole thing.
We all do. That convention just, lights a fire under you, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the perfect transition. Fast forwarding a few more years, we're friends on Facebook, and I have had the incredible privilege to watch you transition from your job and doing this part-time into this being a full-time venture for you. Can you talk a little bit about the process you had to go through to finally say, okay, I'm going to leave normal life and I'm going to do this full-time?
Yeah, define normal. Okay, so yeah, and what you might not know is that we've been friends now for a little bit, but this is my second attempt at doing this. Okay, so 2004, I'll do this kind of short, the snapshot for you. I went to the convention, got inspired. 2005, I went back, and it's all Ken Groves' fault.
It was Ken's fault for Tom too.
It's all Ken's fault, and here's why. At that point, I was an executive at AOL. Most of your readers will probably have heard AOL.
Yes.
That was back in the glory days, right? And it was .com city, and we were just booming. And my job was network operations. I was responsible for all data center network operations for all of AOL worldwide. It was a pretty darn big job and very stressful. And I was always on call when things broke. When things got really bad, that's when I would be on the call and have to be there until they were fixed. But it was my staff that really fixed it. I just kind of sat there and kept tabs of things. I was getting burnt out.
Supervisor joke there,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could tell you some more about that, but that's a different story. Anyways, I was at the convention, and Ken Groves said, I love doing what I do because I get to work doing ventriloquism 9 months out of the year, and then I take 3 months off every summer and play with cars. And I said, that's cool. That's the kind of life that I want to do, is to have that kind of freedom. Because I didn't have that kind of concept in my work. I loved my work, don't get me wrong, but I was burnt out.
Yeah.
And so I set about, in 2005, I wrote up my game plan. I wrote out a 5-year plan to make the transition. Now, the other thing you need to understand is that from day one, I always wanted to own my own business. So when I went into engineering school, my idea all along, I'm an electrical engineer by background. That's my schooling. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, if anybody cares.
Really cool.
And I was always intrigued. I always wanted to own my own company. And I just kept searching for that big idea. I thought that if I could just have the right idea, create some product, live off the royalties, that really was my idea. And it wasn't until Ken said that this light bulb went off, and I said, a head smack, you dummy, that's me, you are the product. I don't need to go invent something. I am the product. The act is the product, and that's the company. And so that's really what launched it. I laid out a 5-year plan to pull the plug. That was in 2005. I actually pulled the plug in the summer of 2007. And it was too early. I wasn't ready yet. I didn't really know what I was doing from a business perspective.
I want to dive in.
Yep.
I want to go into details as much as you're willing, just because this is such a new side. What happened, if you don't mind my asking? Talk about it as much as you're comfortable. Why did you have to shut down and wrap it up?
Sure. Okay. I'll give you the quick snapshot, which was in 2009. My oldest daughter was then a senior in high school looking at colleges, and very expensive colleges. And the health benefits were becoming an issue in the independent lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Our private health insurance was not to the level that we needed it to be at the time. Right. And right around then, a friend of mine that used to be on my staff at AOL called me and said, hey, you know, the position of my boss at this place where I am now has been posted for 6 months. I'd really like to work for you again. Would you consider coming in and applying for the position? Now, how do you turn that down? Someone says, I want to work for you, right? I can't think of a greater compliment. So I said, you know, maybe the timing is right. I'll come in and talk, and if it's the right position, I'll come in and take it. So it all just worked out, and it really was the right position for me. And I expected it to be a 1, maybe 2-year stint. Mm-hmm. And it went almost 4, to the point where I was pulling my hair out.
Kind of like an interim. You thought it'd be more like an interim position, and it blossomed into a full-time thing.
It really was, yeah. I really expected it to be short-term. My goal was simply to stay long enough for him to have validated that he was the right person to take over the job, for him to get the promotion into that position. And it just took longer than expected. So.
Yes, I apologize. That was the door. Hi, roommate. Yeah, no, that's great. So it wasn't necessarily, I mean, it was out of necessity, but it wasn't a negative thing. It was something you enjoyed going back to, and it was...
It was both. I absolutely went crazy going back because I hated being back.
Right.
No lie, right? I drove my family and everybody else around me crazy because I was miserable. But I knew it was the right thing to do at the time. And so here's the thing, Matt, is that I knew all along that the reason that my business was not as successful as I wanted it to be was because of me. When I went out in 2007 to start my own stuff, that was, 2008 was the big .bomb, right? That's when everything crashed.
Yeah.
And I'm also in the National Speakers Association. That's always been part of my plan, is to add motivational speaking and inspirational things along the way. A lot of speakers went out of business during those years, and they blamed the economy. I did not blame the economy. Yeah, a lot of the gigs that I was working up to that point dried up. I had some cancellations because people lost their budgets. But it was up to me to fill the calendar. And I was really just starting to figure out how to do that aggressively. When I launched my business, I basically put my website out there. It's the internet version of hanging out your shingle.
Yeah.
Right? The old days. And waiting for people to come by and knock on your door. And that's what I did. And that was pretty darn successful for a while. But starting in 2008, that was no longer enough. And I knew that, but I didn't quite know how to go around it because I'm an engineer, not a sales guy.
Yeah.
And since then, I have been poring over things. In fact, if I had a camera on, you could see the stack of books behind me. There's 7 or 8 books stacked up that I've been pouring through and skimming, all about sales, selling, marketing, cold calling, and that's where I've been spending all of my energy lately. So
fast forwarding again to what was and I know it was just recent because I remember reading Facebook posts. You were excited. Was it this year or was it last year?
It was this year. July 5th, 2013 was my last day in the office.
What?
Hopefully forever.
What prompted that return? And then I want to get into some more specifics if you don't mind. It's just,
sure.
It's been incredible watching your journey and to get to talk to you about it.
Absolutely. And, for those of you who didn't follow me the first time, I did blog about it. I kind of gave up, but my other blog, I have 2 blogs going. One of them is active and one of them is kind of on the back burner, but it's imnodummy.wordpress.com, if I can put that plug. I don't get anything out of it. I started that blog specifically to track my own progress and for other people who wanted to go down this journey to see what I was running into. So go through the history in the archives there and you'll learn a lot. But so this year, what happened, there was well, first of all, I was frustrated. I just had to leave. I realized that I was a round peg in a square hole at the company that I was in.
Right.
The company I worked for most recently is a very good company to work for. In fact, they're always rated in the top 100 places to work in the country. But it's not the right place for me. I'm a very creative type, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? Creative, entrepreneurial thought process. And their business model is more manufacturing oriented, and there are few people high up that define how everyone will work, and you just plug yourself into this model. And if you can do that, and you can be one of those cogs in the wheel, great place to work if that's what you want to do. It doesn't work for me. I couldn't do it.
Doesn't work for a lot of entertainers. You're not alone.
No, that's right. It works for a lot of IT people, though, and other people in healthcare. This was a healthcare organization. So I don't want to disparage the company. It just wasn't a good fit for me. So I was looking for a chance to get out. In January, February of this past year, I had the opportunity to be on a show, a TV show called AMC's Showville.
Yes, we'll get to that. I'm excited to talk about that, too.
Yeah, so that was really exciting. It was a lot of fun. That was coming out. That was going to go live in June. And in July, I had booked the Ohio State Fair. Now, the Ohio State Fair is the big kahuna. If you're in Ohio, it's the big thing.
Yeah.
And it was a 6-day run, 3 shows a day. I was just really, really excited about it. And I didn't know what to expect, right? Out of this TV show, I didn't know what it was going to look like. And then the State Fair, I knew both of these were huge opportunities for exposure and marketing opportunities and making connections. And so I went to my boss and said, look, I've got these things coming up, and, if I'm going to do this right, I really need to be focused 100% on following through and working these as opportunities, and I just don't have time to do this. I can't do the day job and this at the same time. And we discussed taking a leave of absence or moving to part-time, trying to find some way to make it work so that I could stay. And in the end, we both just realized that it wasn't going to work. He was willing to talk about a leave of absence if I would promise him that I would come back after it was over. And I said, well, if it goes right, I'm not coming back because I'll be too busy. Right?
Right, absolutely.
And in the end, I really just had to be brave and step off and take the risk. And so that's what I'm doing.
Risk-taking is so important in this business, I'm finding out. You just got to go
really
for
is.
it.
Yep. Well, I do actually want to back up to the first one, and this is one of those, opening the kimono a little bit further than most people would like to, but so I was an executive with AOL in the .com boom, and I am a stock option baby. So, without getting into numbers, I was not hurting.
Right.
When I left AOL, I was in a very good financial position to go out and launch my own business and take my time doing it.
Of course.
And that last part is really what the key driver to the failure. And that was, it was too easy. I was not hungry enough. I did not have to worry about putting food on the table because our bank account was too full. So it's a strange problem to have when you launch a business. Mentally, I needed to have more of a starvation mentality. I had to have more of I really need to work this and really be on my game and do everything that's going to be possible to make this financially viable on a sustaining basis. And yeah, so this time around, it's much more like that.
Yeah.
I don't have that benefit anymore. It's pretty much gone.
Right.
Especially with 2 girls in school right now and another one. So my oldest will be graduating actually early. She graduates in December. But then next year, my youngest heads to college, so we'll have 2 overlapping again.
Yeah.
So it really isn't, I don't have that same benefit that I had the last time. This is a much shorter time frame.
It's interesting you say this. The safety net kind of discourages the entrepreneurial spirit. Because I'd always existed under the mentality that, to have been with a financial cushion would make it easier to launch a very successful business already having the capital.
Yep. And I think it's a two-edged sword. You have to set yourself some very finite boundaries. You have to set your bottom threshold. How far are you willing to dip into whatever it is you have? Mm-hmm. And set some timelines to regenerate that and to move ahead. Okay. And that was if I had one big failing, that was really it the first time around.
That's some wonderful insight, David. Thank you. And I want to shift gears here. No easy transition, but I want to get to Showville. I mean,
great.
you talk about a talent. I'm just going to give my thoughts on it. You talk about a talent competition, and I'm not trying to plug Showville, but you talk about how you want to do a talent show for television. I believe Showville's the way to go because they seem to have treated everyone with such respect in the way that they edited it, and it looked like it was just such a fun experience for you.
I'm so glad that came through because that was my experience the entire way through that process. I had auditioned for an America's Got Talent season, and 2 seasons or previous, something like that. And it was not all that fantastic. I didn't do one of the cattle call auditions. It was a private audition. You walk in and there's 3 people in the room and you audition and leave and yeah, thank you very much. But when I watch what they do on that show and the way that they treat people and they stage things, it was horrible. Showville was entirely above board from day one. They were so respectful. They were great to work with. They were just super people. The cast and crew, everybody involved in it was just super. Now, the one thing that I will comment on is that I was misled a little bit. I got a little bit of information that was incorrect from someone early on in that it is a talent contest, and it's by audience vote. And I say this in case they get to extend and go for another season, and anyone here that's listening gets to do this again. You really need to bring everybody that you know, even remotely, to bring and fill up the audience as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
When I was early on into the process, I said, well, it sounds like I should be filling up the audience with as many people as possible. And they said, no. It's really a audience vote, but we want to bring in people from the community, and you'll only be allowed to bring in 2 or 3 people that are directly tied to you. And I took them at their word for that. And then when we got halfway through the week of the show, I found out that was not really the case. They really wanted us to bring people and to fill the audience with as many people as possible. And by that time, it was too late for me.
Yeah, and not to play devil's advocate here, but just there could have been a miscommunication between them as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But the bottom line was, if you're going to do that show, if the opportunity comes again, get everybody lined up as early as possible.
Well, that's
even
great.
Before the first audition.
Great advice, because I do know, and I know all television shows do this, so this wasn't necessarily negative. Looking through your pictures, prepping for the interview, I do research. I saw that you posted the talent show listing, and underneath you said, this is a bit bigger than I can fully disclose at the time, and I was doing it this past week. I'm like, yep, okay.
Yep.
What? It doesn't... that was kind of a disconnect. You want people to know you're doing this television show, but you can't... what is the disclosure, limit with something like that?
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. When I was inviting people, I was not supposed to tell people we were filming a TV show. I was just supposed to tell people, hey, it's a talent contest, come on out, and please come and watch, and it'll be fun. Yeah, during the week, I wasn't able to tell people what it was about.
That must have been so hard.
Got there. So it was, and it was just so much fun. It was very intense for a week. It was just a hoot. I'm so glad that I did it, even though I didn't win my episode. I don't really care.
Oh, did you see a bump in stuff from that? I mean, what did you see as a result of the show?
I definitely saw a bump in views on my website. Mm-hmm. I played it as much as I could. It wasn't crickets. When I told my boss, I said that the 2 responses are either overwhelming response or crickets. And it actually ended up being somewhere in between. So
yeah, that's great. How did it feel working with the coaches, that maybe don't necessarily do ventriloquism? What were you able to glean from people that aren't necessarily immersed in this art form?
Oh, I think the fact that they weren't immersed in the art form was even better. Because you get when we perform, we're entertaining people that are not ventriloquists, if we're doing it right. And, those are the people that you really want to get the feedback from.
Yeah.
And so having these coaches that were not didn't have preconceived notions from a ventriloquist perspective was very beneficial. Yeah, I got some really good feedback. I changed some things, changed the song that I sing with Wilmer and Edna as a result of the show, and the act is much better for it.
Any I gotta ask, because I always ask when somebody's on TV, any behind-the-scenes scoop, any funny stories, anything you'd like to share that maybe found its way to the cutting room floor and didn't make it into the show?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that the show conveyed pretty well the personalities involved of the people.
Yes.
The people that we were, that I shared the stage with that night were just a hoot. The two girls that did the hula hoops thing they were every bit as crazy and wacky as they came across on TV. And just a total joy and pleasure to work with. They were so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I'm disappointed with is that they did not show my entire performance at the end. They really cut the performance time short. But they didn't make me look like an idiot, so I was happy overall.
Which is good, because that tends to happen when people get ventriloquists involved in a television production or a movie production. They don't treat the art with respect. And I was so happy. I was so happy when I sat there and watched it. I remember watching it. I really do. And to see how nicely they treated you and treated the hula hoop and the family, it's just, again, I'm not trying to plug it, but I mean, at the same time, if you're going to do a talent show on television, and I'm so glad that it's that one that you're doing. Because
that's exactly my takeaway from it, and I'll plug it all day because it was a great experience.
Yeah, and so it's just wonderful. And so what's next for David Crone?
Yeah. Okay, so I joke about I'm actually in the marketing and sales business, and once in a while I get to take the stage.
Yes.
So I'm still learning that process. I'm still learning how to be a marketer. I'm still learning how to pick up the phone and call people. I'm great at answering the phone. I'm not so great at picking it up and making that call, and I'm learning how to do that.
What's the best advice you could dispense to people who are maybe where you were a year or two ago that you've found out that nobody really tells you?
From a business perspective or a ventriloquist perspective?
Business perspective, yes. Marketing.
Okay. Wow. Find other people that are doing something similar and ask for help. Let people help you. That's really the key. I grew up in a family that was not good at accepting help. It was our family motto that we helped others, but they didn't help us. It was sort of on an underlying theme. And so for me to ask for help and to accept other people's help is a big deal. And that's been really inspirational for me. One of the best places for me has been NSA, the National Speakers Association. So the people there are just really phenomenal. And the ventriloquist community in the general has been great.
Yeah, we're a big family. We are a big, big, happy family, and we double sometimes because those puppets come out.
Yeah. And it's so different than the magician community.
Yeah.
The magician community is very predatory and closed, and the ventriloquist community is very open and sharing. And that's what the NSA community is like as well.
Yeah.
At NSA, it was founded, the founder, I'm going to say his name wrong, so I won't, had a philosophy of make a bigger pie. It's the concept of, if I want more, if I want to do more business, I don't need to take it away from someone else. We need to make the industry better so that there's more to take.
Absolutely.
And I really live and breathe that philosophy, and I think that ventriloquists as a whole, I think that you get that same sense from the people that speak at the convention, that concept of we want ventriloquists that are out there to be good because it's good for everybody when they're good, and it's bad for everybody when they're bad.
Absolutely, and that's a perfect lead-in to our last question, what I always close with. What do you want to see from the ventriloquists coming up, or just the community in general? What do you look at? What would be great for you to see?
Oh, man, I'm seeing such great revitalization. I really want people to work hard and to be good.
Yes.
So here I'll share my inspiration, right? So when I left again, doing what I do is no longer a choice. I have to do this because this is what the world needs from me. And I firmly believe that. And it's going to get a little bit, woo-woo here, but I'll share this experience. I had someone come up to me in 2006. I did a performance for a group of people that I knew, and this woman came up to me, and Yeah. And she said, "Thank you. I really needed to laugh." Now, that might sound, not that big of a deal, but I knew her, and for the last year, she had been dealing with breast cancer.
Wow.
And, the tears in her eyes, that moment of, wow, I had an opportunity here to give her a gift that I was uniquely positioned to give to her. And it turned everything that I do 180 degrees, because I started in this business, as I mentioned earlier on doing magic, as a way to be popular. I wanted it was all about me. It was a way for me to fit in, for me to be cool, for me to impress people. And in that moment in 2006, everything flipped on its head. And so when I'm on the stage now, I still struggle with it a little bit, but I really focus on the people that are having fun instead of the people that are not. Right? There's a thing with comedians that it doesn't matter how loud the crowd is laughing, if there's one grumpy Gus with his arms folded scowling at you, you sit there on the stage focusing, I'm going to get that guy to laugh, I'm going to get that guy to laugh. You take it on as this personal challenge, and it's completely wrong. You really need to focus on the people that are enjoying what you do and realize that you are giving them a gift and go on from there.
Incredible. Well, that is certainly a note to end on. David Crone, thank you so much for being with us this week.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you again to David Crone for being with us this week and just being completely candid about how he got to where he is, his struggles, his triumphs. I love it. I love it when our guests open up like that and we get to really see what their journey has been like. So thank you, David. I wish you the best of success. I hope you don't have to go back to the corporate world and you can just continue to do this, what you love, for the rest of your life. And I wish that for all ventriloquists. Just like he said, just go for it. Take the risk. Please take that away from here. So I encourage all of you guys to visit David. Go to imnodummy.com and also read his blog. I was checking it out earlier. It's just fantastic. Really interesting to look back in the archives and see what his journey has been. So please go ahead and take a look at that. Now, where to find us? We're on iTunes, Ventriloquism Weekly. On iTunes, we're on Facebook, Ventriloquism Weekly _podcast for ventriloquists. And, of course, ventriloquismweekly.podomatic.com. That's it for us this week. Signing off for Ventriloquism Weekly, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding all you vents out there to keep talking for two.